Maybe it's minus 32,000. I don't remember that. Uh, to positive 32,000. So it has got a huge range. Okay, you can actually understand that I'm out of space. So this integer data type can store from minus 32,000 to plus 32,000. So if we write 34, this is a valid data, or this is a valid integer that can be stored inside these 4 bytes of RAM that we are currently using during this program's lifetime. Now, this number is a constant. This entire 4 bytes of data is a variable. So this variable will need to have a name so that we can refer that variable, or we are what we are actually trying to say in here is that we can later on refer to this data, or we can later on refer to this constant digit later on using that number. Now this 4 bytes of data, when we actually use this 4 bytes of memory space and store this integer number, we now have occupied the assigned memory allocation from our RAM. Now this entire 4 byte is named as I. So I guess this becomes a lot easier to understand once we actually combine both of these terminologies, which is variable definition and variable initialization. So whenever you put a value along with this operator, now we are going to talk about operator at the end of this chapter, but because this operator is actually important, we need to talk about this right now. You might have heard about the equals to sign, like 2 plus 2, which is the classical example. So 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. Now what this actually means is this left hand side equals the right hand side. But in this context, in our programming context, this has a different meaning. This equals to has and it actually means something entirely different when we are trying to use this same equals to symbol inside our program. So what's the difference? When we try to do mathematics, it actually means equivalence, or it actually it more or less means that this value on the right hand side is equals to or same as the value on the left hand side. But inside programming, when we write something like this, I equals to 3, this is just the this is the example that we have initialized earlier. So if we write I equals to 3, this initialization operator, or you'll hear about the assignment operator. You'll hear about this assignment operator quite often. So this equals to symbol does not mean the same thing as we try to use it when we are talking about theoretical mathematics. So what does it mean? So it actually means, so if we have a variable like this integer variable I, so we are assigning an arbitrary constant. So in our case, in my case especially, I have taken the constant integer of 3, and then I'm saying to my memory that take this constant integer 3 and assign it inside this entire space. Now remember that I have got something like this previously. So when let's actually restart everything. So previously what I got was something like this. My memory looked like this. So 1 2, so there must be 3 lines. So this is 1 2 3 4. So integer has 4 bytes of space. Now previously this is integer I, this is what we had, just the variable definition. So to make things clearer, let me tell you that this entire 4 bytes of data was called I. So we went back to the memory we are going back to the memory through our compiler when the program is running, and we are telling the memory that assign 4 bytes of data for us, or uh, just keep this 4 bytes of space, not data, sorry, just keep this 4 bytes of space for us so that we can store some number or some constant integer digit inside this memory later on for our uh, for later purposes. So when we write something like this, integer I equals to, or assignment operator 3, what we actually mean is that everything remains the same, but the change is that okay, this is I. Now we need to have 4 bytes of data. So we now have 4 bytes of data. So this is the RAM, obviously. Now when we assign or initialize the variable with a constant integer of 3, what we are again going back to the memory, and we are telling the memory that take this integer constant 3 and store it inside this 4 bytes of space which I asked you to keep empty because I need that space for my program. So this assignment operator is actually taking this number or taking this integer number and storing it inside this variable which is called I. So I'm taking this integer number 3 and I'm storing this integer number inside this variable which is called I, and this variable has a space of 4 bytes, has a space which is 4 bytes, and it can only store integer numbers which can be both positive and negative. I hope that makes things clearer. So the next thing is similarly we can do the similar stuff for all of our variables that are listed in here, as you can see, for C, for F, and for D. So let's have a look what we can do. Now we are not going to use this short data type because short isn't actually a commonly used data type, because if you're learning some other programming language along with this C programming, then you will find that many of those programming languages don't even have this short data type, but they will obviously have this integer, character, float, and double data type. So we should stick along with this most commonly used data types, but we might sometimes use this short when it's absolutely necessary. So let's have a look.